So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. This is week 2 of our voicemail show. Audio should be a lot better this week because I'm not going to have to play it through my phone or from the actual speakers on my computer through my my microphone. Because last week I had to do that because of GDPR issues and emails and stuff like that. So just once again, if anybody is tuning into this for the very first time, please do not leave your email address in any of the fields, because as you'll see in a moment, we will, and whatever name you put up there as well, we will show on screen. So just remember, keep it clean, guys. Keep it clean. I'm only joking, but Paddy's here. Paddy, how are you doing? I haven't really spoken to you much since you were over in Birmingham last weekend.
Was I in Birmingham last weekend? Seems a bit of a blur now at this stage.
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just in from work, so I'm tired. But yeah, I'm going on holidays in a couple of days, so there you go. I can't complain, can I?
Yeah, there we were. Well, my 5.5 week séjour is I was off on paternity leave looking after my little treasure, and that is up at the end of this week, and I've forgotten how to do my job, so that's going to be an interesting one. And that's why some of you have DM'd me recently going, where do you find all the time to do all the podcasts? I've been on daddy daycare for the last 5 weeks, so that's where all the podcasts have been coming from. So if you see a drop off in podcasts coming from next week, maybe it might be because I'm back in the day job again, which is a hindrance at this time of year.
Awful, isn't it?
Awful.
Imagine the transfer window still been open and you have to go to work.
Having to go back to work again. Yeah. What kind of a world do we live in at all? But we're not here to talk about transfer. Well, we will, because I know some of the voicemails here will be to do with transfer pieces as well. But we're going to take a look at some of those voicemails right now, and we're going to discuss them. And I'm delighted to have Paddy here because, as I said, Paddy wasn't here for the last voicemail one. So let's take a look at it. And I don't want to ruin any. I don't want to ruin any surprises we have, but there's a potential that this could evolve over the next coming weeks. So if you like this, I'd say you're really going to like what potentially could come after this, if we can get our shit sorted out. But anyway, beside the point, let us get cracking now. So as I mentioned, guys, these voicemails, they do come through a system that we use called SpeakPipe, and you can leave us a voicemail. You can even leave us a voicemail now. Do not put in your voicemail, but you can leave us a voicemail on For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast there at www.speakpipe.com for the Love of Paul McGrath pod. So if something tickles your fancy, if there's something you want to talk to us about, leave your voicemail. Do not leave your email address, and we will endeavor to play it out. This could go any which way if you leave them now, because I've pre-listened to all these podcasts. Anything that comes in could be playing with fire, but that's what we're here for. So let's pop them up here on the screen, and we will start off and we'll start playing them as we see them here. So we have quite a lot of voicemails in here. One or two of them do pertain to the Bournemouth game, but because you guys were so good to send them into us, we are going to play them, and we're going to listen to your opinions on them as well, because they're just as important. And let's listen to the very first one here from Daniel. Daniel sent this in 5 days ago. We're not going to be able to hear it, so I'm just going to stop sharing screen for a moment and reshare my screen in 2 seconds. There we go. So can I get one of you guys in the comments, or all of you guys in the comments, to just give a thumbs up if you can hear this, because it's going to be playing in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, big fan of the podcast. I just had a little request / suggestion for the show, whether you're open to it or not. Totally up to you. But I was wondering, maybe for like the pre-match previews, if you guys could maybe using your analysis and whatnot. I know you guys are a lot deeper into the Villa analytics and tactics than maybe most are, but if you could maybe in your pre-match previews, if you had like a player prop bet or something that you feel would be more likely due to the matchup and the analytical style of plays the two teams are going to be using. Like if you guys were feeling maybe Luka Digne is going to get an assist this match, or you're feeling really good about Leon Bailey getting a shot on target, anything like that, just a small prop that could, I don't know, help give people something minute to look forward to within the game other than just Villa getting the 3 points, which obviously we all want. Obviously, betting is a controversial topic at times, so if you guys aren't open to it, obviously don't do it, but it's something that I would like and I would look forward to, and I'm sure other people would, but yeah, totally up to y'all. Love the podcast. The Villa.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Daniel. That's really cool. This is something we actually used to do. 2 years ago, I think it was, Paddy. I used to put an absolutely unbelievably, be honest with you, stupidly crazy bet with massive odds, like 200 to 1. And I used to put a five euros on a crazy bet every game. And my aim was that the worst case scenario, at the end, I'd have a small bit of crack watching Aston Villa matches. But at the end of the year, if I did win anything, if I did win big, like if one of them came in at 200 to 1 and I had €1,000, I was going to donate it. Whatever I won, I was going to donate it to the Villa Foundation. But we kind of moved away from that because I was winning nothing. So there was, I think
yeah, I like the concept of what Daniel's saying, and we do it from time to time. Say, you know, oh, fancy Danny Ings for a goal today, as I've done in the past. But I think the important thing is that betting is not for everybody. It can ruin lives, and we need to be conscious of the fact that there's people out there whose lives have potentially been ruined by it, and that's why we just rode back a little bit. Well, I certainly did on reporting like that on the games for those reasons.
I think there's nothing wrong with like a little novelty bet or something like that to say, obviously, look, listen here, because it's as I say, but I like the big thing there, and we will always continue to say this, that the phrase over here in Ireland is, anyway, when the fun stops, stop, you know, and only bet what you can afford as well. But it's something I would be open to say, that if I had to bet on anything in any game, that maybe a Luka Digne assist or something like that, as Daniel mentioned, might be a bit of fun, you know, because I don't think that we're that big influencers that we're going to have people like putting, I don't know, maybe we will or we won't, putting like their mortgage on an Emi Martinez goal in the 94th minute or something like that, just because we say it. But at the same time, I think it'd be a small bit of crack for people out there as well. I forgot to do something before we move on to the next podcast, before we move on to the next voicemail. I have a can. See that? I don't know. Could you see the smoke? I have a lovely can of a Harrah's Irish Red Nitro here, unsponsored, by the way. It's just, I found it in the back of my fridge and I went, yeah, that's still in date. I'll be drinking that tonight.
Just to celebrate the first win of the season.
Yeah, someone needed to open a can, Paddy. You're slacking off. Someone needed to open a can, you know. But look at that.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. I haven't drank a red ale in ages. So I'm looking forward to this. Right, next one we have here. John Martin. John Martin has sent in a voicemail, and let's take a little listen to it here and see what John says.
Guys, it's John here. Love the podcast. Keep up the good work. This one's a message for us fans as a whole regarding the noise coming out of the camp at the moment. I think we forget that footballers and managers are just human. Every day in life, people fall out. They also work things out too. So we need to stop this culture of one game away from disaster. You know, even on the team sheets, there's meltdowns. We don't see what goes on in training. So it's time we just back the team.
I think that's really sound advice, John. I don't know where you stand in that, Paddy, because I think sometimes when we get, and the week that we've had previous to the Everton game, I think really kind of sums that up, because there was reports coming out that Ollie Watkins wanted to leave. There was reports coming out that John McGinn had added a punch up Michael Beale, and that Michael Beale was blah, 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 and all this kind of crack, and obviously the Mings stuff. And then Mings is back in the team. So what John said there, the real important thing for me is people have tiffs, but people can make up as well. And that brings me on to, I suppose, a talking point, Paddy, that we've not discussed. And I think you're probably the perfect person to discuss this one. But it kind of goes to something that Graham Souness has said recently, that he said that if somebody strips the captaincy from Tyrone Mings, or when Gerrard stripped the captaincy from Tyrone Mings, it becomes irreparable there. I think that's antiquated thinking, specifically from Souness's point of view, and just shows the fact that Souness doesn't have a clue about Tyrone Mings and maybe about what his mindset is or what went down in that area. And I think it was just a salacious comment. But what do you think of that, Paddy?
Well, first off, and anyone that knows me knows that I think Graham Souness is a spoofer and a fool. And I have absolutely no idea what he brings to any punditry. I think he's rude. I think he's a dinosaur. And there was absolutely no need for a comment for a man who was a failed manager to be making statements like that. Yes, good player, awful manager. Absolutely destroyed Liverpool Football Club, ripped all their assets out and sold them to us. So,
Paddy, you wouldn't be. You wouldn't be a Villa fan only for Graham Souness.
Well, that's just you just took the words out of my mouth. But look, there's no need for him to put his tuppence worth in when he knows absolutely nothing about what's going on. I don't know what more I can say. The guy is just a soundbite waiting to happen on a regular basis, and I think it's time for him to hang up his microphone, because he just doesn't make any cohesive comments for me.
But he's not going to, because TalkSport have just signed him to multi-year.
He's welcome over there, because I've absolutely no interest in listening to that.
I just wish Adam McCoist wasn't on TalkSport, because I could listen to McCoist all day. Even just the lilt of his voice, I could listen to him all day. But anyway, that's beside the point. That's neither here nor there. But I think that kind of sums up what John said there. That sometimes we can get caught up in.
But I think what John was getting at is, there's a lot of people believing what comes out from these sound bites from whoever puts them out there. So sometimes you got to take a step back. I had a shitty week last week. I really wasn't looking forward to going to Villa Park the weekend. And the minute I turned that bend in my Uber at 9 o'clock in the morning, I just immediately, the love heart started floating around my eyes again. And it was great to be back. And while the atmosphere was a little bit low when the game started, it got better. It was great support for Tyrone Mings. I think the real fans out there, and whatever your definition of the real fan is, I think the real fan was totally behind a good performance the weekend, and everybody wanted everything to go well, because we were all a little bit hurt last week, and sometimes we're going to have weeks like that. So it's okay for people to vent. This is what we love. I'm the worst in the world for it, as you know, Neil, when we're on our WhatsApp group.
Paddy, I can confirm, Paddy had a shit week last week. I can confirm that with great gusto.
I even put a message on 91 minutes on our group at the weekend, because I thought the tactics were going to lead to us throwing it away, but thankfully they didn't, and we eventually came out with the 3 points. But everybody is going to have weeks like that. Everybody's going to have times like that. So it's hard for me to beat people with a shitty stick over it, because when you love something as much as fans do, it's important that you just you take the good with the bad and do the best you can to stay positive.
I agree. I absolutely agree, and that's hopefully this podcast does that for people as well. In the past, we've gotten some DMs saying, thanks for being so level-headed, and that thanks for going in hard when it needs to go in hard. Thanks for being level-headed, and sometimes just thanks for a laugh, because sometimes I remember in one podcast I turned around and I said, this guy needs to bust a nut to get up there, and I'd say every single person who watches the podcast over in the States got out to me via DM going, bust a nut? You do know what that means, don't you? Kind of situation. I was like, oh, yeah, I got it wrong. It's bust his gut is what I meant to say. Even those little quips, hopefully they do make it a bit easier, I suppose, for people when maybe when things aren't going so well for us. But just want to comment on what Will says here about Laura Woods. Laura Woods is an absolutely top person. The way that she came out, she didn't need to do what she did today. And in fairness, like, she put her head above the parapet when there was a lot of other men sinking into their chairs today. And I'm not going to make this about man versus woman or anything like that, but she did. And she put her head above the parapet, and she took Souness to task, because she said she went through all the bits and pieces that Mings does. Mings was homeless when he was a child. He works now with homeless children. He's got his own soccer academy. He's got a football academy. He is an advocate of mental health issues because he suffered from anxiety himself. He was on his debut. There was a game that was stopped on multiple occasions because of racism. And he was heavily behind the Tekkenee situation. And that's like a lot of the reasons why he does what he does for charities and is outspoken in certain situations are because he's got personal experience of them. And Laura Woods, if you're watching, fair play to you, because that was, there was a lot of people there sinking into their chair going, oh, we won't say anything bad about the new guy who Talk Sport have bigged up about now coming out to the radio station. And you did it in such a very nice, eloquent, coherent, and a non-controversial way. But what you did was you basically said to him, listen, if I can do the research, you can do the research. So maybe I'm going to wind your neck in a small little bit. And fair play, Laura Woods, I must say.
And like, I didn't hear that today because I've just been so busy, but I think Laura Woods is an excellent presenter. She is not only incredibly intelligent, but incredibly intelligent about the game as well. So she's a joy to listen to. I only listen to Talk Sport once a month for a couple of days when I'm up the north working. So my radio doesn't pick up any of the Irish channels, so I listen to Talk Sport. But every morning when I'm up there, I listen to her, and I think she's an incredible presenter.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. She is. She's a voice of sanity over there at times anyway, for sure. Right, next podcast we have from the wonderful Ben. Good to see you, Ben. Ben Hopkins. This is one of two podcasts, or one of two voicemails. Why do I keep calling them podcasts? Yeah, these are your mini podcasts. That's they're all the listeners' mini little podcasts.
Before you press play on that one, Neil, my sincere apologies to Ben. I did everything in my power to meet him for a point before the match on Saturday, but it just didn't work out. I probably should have stayed and had a point with him instead of trying to get into the stadium and do the team sheet tantrum, but didn't come off. So Ben, we'll have that point eventually, and keep up the good work.
Here we go. This is Ben's first one.
Hi there, Neil. I'm rather annoyed at Purslow. He's added, well, for me anyway, 150 quid extra onto my season ticket, and at the game, I could not see what that extra money has gone to pay for. The new ticketing system was no quicker than the old one. You got into the ground and there was queues for, well, it was absolutely chock-a-block. On the hottest day of the year, I think there was about 2 members of staff on the catering. It was ridiculous. I just don't know what Purslow himself is doing with all this extra money, because we're not seeing it in the ground, and I can't really see where it's going. Anyway, hope you're all right. See you later. Bye.
I will answer that question, but do you want to play it? Is the other one related? Have you listened to it?
The other one is no, because I think Ben sent me a message to say he sent it one positive, one negative.
All right, okay.
They're both separated. So yeah.
Okay, so let me take this one. And while I 100% agree with everything Ben said, I was handed a bottle of water that I could have made tea with on Saturday, given that it was 36 degrees or something outside, and I just shook my head. So, well, what can you do? You know, you've got young kids in there serving food, but I think all this falls on the company that Villa outsourced this to, as opposed to it falling on Villa. And you know, they have to be accountable in some way because they're employing them and they're putting them in front of the fans. They ran out of beer. Some of the stalls weren't open. I got an explanation yesterday from somebody I think it's Compass Catering. I hope I'm not doing them the service. I think that's what they're called.
Allegedly, I think that saves us from any legal repercussions. Allegedly, that usually does it.
So basically, how it was explained was that a lot of the stalls weren't open because there was a rail strike and a lot of people couldn't get into work in time for the match. I think they start work 3 hours before the game. So as a result, you know, it was an absolute shit show. There's no sugarcoating it. You couldn't get a drink. You couldn't get bottled water on the hottest days of the year, as Ben said. And there was big queues before the match. So I said to my son, at the actual water break, I will run down and get a bottle of water. And that's when I got my bottle of water, which was hotter than it was outside. So there wasn't a whole pile I could do with it. But on the way back, there was another stall there, and I swapped it for a colder one. So that was just my lucky story, but other people weren't as lucky. And I'm sure there was people there that would have been quite happy to drink that hot water in order just to cure a thirst of some sort. But yeah, there's a lot wrong, and there's a lot they're trying to get right. And I'm sure we'll hear some kind of apology. But it wasn't just Villa; it was every other team in the country were complaining about the facilities, and specifically the fact that they ran out of all cold drinks, which is unfortunate. But when you've got a lock of weather like we had for the last couple of weeks, there's got to be some joined up thinking to get that done properly.
Yeah, I'm glad you took that one, because I basically didn't. Obviously, I've got no knowledge of it. I wasn't at the game, and but I think that I think they have mentioned with regards to the North Stand redevelopment. Which, by the way, you didn't get caught with the piss take from the fake Villa report tweet that said they were going to name the North Stand after Ahmed El Mohammadi. That was good. That was a good one today. A couple of people fell for it. But with the redevelopment, they are going to be redeveloping all the concession stands in and around the ground. From memory, I think that's what they said.
Yeah.
That it is on the list to do. I don't know whether they'll do them all after the season is over, and it's no good, I suppose, this season, you know. But it is something that they are aware of, and it is something that they're going to do. Just from memory, it was part of the press release for the North Stand as well, and for the upgrades to the park. Rightio, let's move on to the next one. Oh, actually, before we do, but yeah, there's something there with Ben as well, and I'm sure you're aware of this as well. Obviously, the Villa Trust and any of those, you know, might be people to give your feedback to as well and stuff like that. And also, I'm sure you can give your feedback directly to the club as well, which they would take it into account. And for anything like that, I think it's very fair that fans should be able to give their feedback directly to the club as well. Here we go with Ben's second one.
Also, though, on the positive, how good was Kamara? It sounds mad, but I noticed he just wins the second ball. Maybe it's because Villa, and it's just a basic, really, but we haven't had that for so long, and it was brilliant to see. And he spreads the ball like it's butter. He is unbelievable. Hopefully, he keeps it up. Maybe gets better as it's only his second game, but we'll see. But yeah, he was a real positive from Saturday. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, I have to agree with this one. The more I've watched this game back, and I've watched it back 3 times since, Kamara was just really, really, really good. He was really good. I was trying to think if we've had, I was trying to think when the last time we had a proper kind of almost do-it-all midfielder has been, and I keep just stopping at Ian Taylor, but Ian Taylor wasn't really a 6, was he? Like, he was more of an 8 predominantly. But I can't think of the last 6 that we had who had a passing ability like him, like Kamara. Maybe Kevin Richardson.
Maybe, yeah.
Like going back 30 years there, like.
I'm not as lucky as you to have had the time to look back on the match just yet, but I will, because I want to. Because I think by what everyone has told me, I owe Ollie Watkins an apology that he put in an awful lot of work.
Yep.
I still stand by my point that he got some crucial decision making wrong. But look, I said it when I was full of piss and vinegar, as you say, when I was walking out of the ground on the podcast on Saturday, and I was telling you how great everybody was. He was fantastic. He's an absolutely incredible reader of the ball. He just had a sixth sense to be there, and it was a joy to watch him, specifically in the first half from behind the goal, and watch. Like, he's a young man, but he's a talker. He's getting everybody's attention. He's keeping them in the game. I liken them to John Terry, I think, when we spoke on Saturday. You know, just in how he reads the game, he's watching the movement of the Everton team in front of him, because they played an awful lot of long balls. They weren't taking that many risks. Well, that's how it felt to me. So he's just seemed to be able to drift across, talk to whoever was around the midfield, move with him. The full backs were pushing up to nullify the space. He was just great to watch. He really was. And then when he did have the ball, I don't recall him giving the ball away, and every pass is he just caresses the football. It's absolutely amazing to watch.
And like, one of the biggest things that I think gets lost is, and when you are watching the game back, even if you only watch the bite-sized piece on Villa TV, Paddy, watch the build-up to Buendia's goal. Just watch the way he dispossesses the man with the ball. I can't remember who it was who had the ball, but just watch the way he just literally, as your man is coming past him, he just flicks it away from him. There's no massive exertion of energy, or he doesn't plow through him or anything like that. He just gets the ball away from him. And I thought it was really, really good. Little things like that are worth their weight in gold. When we first signed Marvelous Nakamba, my eyes were really bulging out of my head with, like, wow, this guy's coming in and he's tackling and he doesn't have to go to ground and he's staying on his feet when he tackles. And that'll tell you how long it's been since Aston Villa, or like it had been ages before that Aston Villa had a central midfielder that was able to tackle while staying on their feet, specifically that played as that kind of defensive midfielder. Like, it makes such a big difference. And obviously Nakamba does what he does, and that's probably one of the best parts of his game. It's probably what he's notable for. But then you've got Kamara, who can do that, then pick up a second ball, you know, loft a 60-yard pass onto someone's toe then, and still hold his position as well. So that it's a huge upgrade in that position, and hopefully we continue to see the fruits of his progression here with Aston Villa.
And he's only going to get better. That's the scary thing, or the exciting thing for us.
The exciting thing, exactly. That is the exciting thing. We have another one here from good friend of the show, Barry Robertson, is in. You're going to see me go off camera here because I'm going to go and get another can, but I'm going to be able to listen to it here on my headphones. So I hope I don't. So don't worry, I will be able to listen to this. I'm going to mute myself and then I'm going to play Barry here so no one hears me shuffling in the background. But I've listened to this one already. So here goes.
I've just got a couple of questions, guys. I think there seems to be a lot of word on us getting an emergency loan for centre half, but are we all forgetting about Courtney House? It just seems odd that he's been totally disregarded with that. Like, I understand he's injured, but surely we can take the gamble and wait a wee while for it. And I think the second one is, surely Buendia gets the run now, gets the shot at the number 10 behind two strikers. And if he does everything we expect and assume that he'll do, Coutinho can't come straight back in. Surely that's how it would work, right?
Paddy, do you want to take the Coutinho Buendia piece now? Let's start the back end, the Courtney House piece. We'll start with the second question first, just to be awkward.
Yeah, and I can talk about my new love, and you can talk about your own love.
Oh shit! Well, I'm just have to destroy myself with a can of Guinness here, so go for it.
Well, look, Coutinho absolutely blew me away. Even watching him in the warm-up, the guy, what he can do with a football is absolutely incredible. How he's not in that Argentina team is beyond me. It's probably our fault that he's not in it because we're not playing him. So for me, he was much more impactful on Saturday for the time he was on the pitch than the whole time Coutinho was on the pitch. It's an absolute no-brainer. I don't care how much money we're paying Coutinho. It's an absolute no-brainer that we get this guy into the team. I think the system that Gerrard set out with at the weekend was perfect. It worked well. I said in advance of it in the preview I wanted two up top because we were playing against five. We got two up top. Worked out exceptionally well. We played well for the first 80 minutes. And Buendia, come on. Got the what proved to be the winner and saw out the game. He just offers so much more than Coutinho at the moment. I'm not saying Coutinho is a bad player. I think he's just been streaky since he got here. And we can't but play whatever is on fire at that time, because if we're leaving Buendia out and Coutinho is not firing, then there's serious questions that need to be asked.
I agree. I think, look, Coutinho came off the last day. It wasn't an injury. He was just struggling with the conditions. My God, that can of Guinness is roasting hot. My fridge wasn't working at all. Maybe it's plugged out or something. But that was disgusting. We were just talking about bad concessions at the concession stand. That was rank. Is what I just said. Oh, anyway, not nice.
There you go.
So that's what my
now you know how we all felt on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think, look, Buendia is definitely put himself in the frame to start. I think he will start this coming Saturday. Gerrard said after the game that, like, he knows that Buendia is a good player. He said that Buendia was something along the lines of, and I'm paraphrasing with this, that Buendia was actually ahead of Coutinho in preseason, but then Buendia got injured before the Rennes game, and it just took him. He was nursing a knock for those 2 weeks up until after the Bournemouth game. So he's now fully fit, and I think Gerrard said something like that in one of the post matches. So I think we might see Buendia at the weekend in place of Philippe Coutinho. And as you said, Paddy, it doesn't really matter how much you're being paid or who you are or what you're doing, but like, the club is called Aston Villa for a reason, and that's why people have to do their time in the bench if the form isn't there. Now, saying that, I do agree with Ian here. Coutinho's off the ball work in the last game was the best I've seen from him, definitely in the last 5 or 6 games for sure. He did get back. He did play a lot of the game as an 8 inside there, which I don't know whether it suits him or not, but he played it as an 8 in there, and I thought he got in the ball a small bit more than maybe people give him credit for in that first half. But Buendia, or in the first half, should I say? But then when Buendia came on with 30 minutes to go or so, he really did. He almost stole the show, because I thought that he was very effervescent around the field as well. So that is the Buendia Coutinho conundrum that we have at the moment. The Courtney House one for me, I think, is a small bit easier. Courtney House coming back from injury. I think Courtney House is, I think the club are doing him a solid here by the fact that he's going to come back from injury. He wants to get minutes back in his legs. He wants to prove that he's not a busted flush coming back from this weird injury that hadn't, like, it's taken him 6, 7, 8 months to kind of get it diagnosed and get it sorted out. But Courtney House obviously has the rest of his career to look after as well. And whether it be at Aston Villa Football Club or be at another club, I think what Courtney House is looking to do is get himself right physically, looking to go out on loan, prove that he can play a 30-game season. It's been a long time since he's played a 30-game season. It could be like back. I don't actually know. I'm actually going to try and Google it here if I can, to see when was last time he played a 30-game season. But he needs to, at 27 years of age, he needs to start playing those, because your career can dry up very quickly, and before you know it, you're playing League 1, League 2 football, and he's a better footballer than that. So I think what he wants to do is, he did have a loan deal more or less wrapped up to go to Watford in January of last year, in January just gone. He got injured, and that never came to fruition. And now it looks like Watford are looking to come back in for him again. And I think the club will do the right thing by letting him go, because at the end of the day, he's only going to be regardless of whether he stays or not. Sorry, if he stays here, he's going to be 4 choice, and he's not going to get that game time. So I think they're comfortable letting him go, seeing if he can reignite his career. And if he does and he plays well and comes back to Aston Villa Football Club, that's fine. But in the meantime, I think the club want to replace Diego Carlos as opposed to replace that number 4 person on that fourth centre half on your team. So I think the club will do a solid by him as well. And Ian says here, why do we think we offered him a new contract last season when we were thinking of getting rid of him? We weren't thinking of getting rid of him, and also you'll see the club are doing this more and more. It's offering players contracts so that we can keep their value high for sell-on purposes as well. Which I think is, like, you see it with Jack Grealish. They kept on re-upping his contract every off season so that he couldn't get to a situation whereby people were saying, "What, he's only got 1 year left in his deal? Is he only worth 15 million now?" And that worked out well. So I think it's just protecting values of players, I think, by re-upping their contracts like that. But I could be wrong, but I think that's their strategy.
And I do believe that he is probably asked to leave. I think that's where we're at.
100%, Paddy. Yeah, if I wasn't clear on that one, I think this is definitely the player saying, "Listen, I need to reignite my career somehow." And
he said he needs games, he needs time, he needs to get a run of games to get himself back up to where he needs to be, and we're not going to give him that opportunity. So I would imagine he'll go out for that reason and that reason only.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so, and that's why I know a lot of the rest of the voicemails are going to be to do with the elephant in the room, the Diogo Carlos piece. So what we might do is we might play. I can't remember which ones were and which ones weren't, so we'll play them. But we may have answered some of the questions that the following voicemails ask. When we answer maybe one or two of these ones that come on from here. So next one is from Stephen O'Leary. Stephen's a long-time listener to the show. Good to hear from you, Stephen. And we're going to hear a lovely Irish lilt to his voice here as well to match our own. So sit back and listen to the voicemail from Stephen O'Leary.
Hi guys, big fan of the podcast. News just breaking there that Diogo Carlos has done his Achilles tendon, which is obviously a disaster for Villa and himself. Just wondering, do you guys think that Callum Chambers or Konsa is good enough to take his role and will just sign a lesser backup centre-back, or do you think Villa will go all out for a starting right-sided centre-back now that looks like Carlos is out for probably the rest of the season?
Paddy, I've talked a bit on this, so I'm going to let you take this one first because I think my feelings in this are out there, although I haven't fully expanded on what I think about the situation.
I'm of the opinion that there was already one here in the pipeline that they were working on behind the scenes. And I think that might be just railroaded a bit quicker. But having said that, if that was already in the pipeline, I would imagine the value of that player has suddenly gone up, given that we're in need of doing this. So I would like to see this addressed sooner rather than later. I would rather see somebody in training tomorrow and get a few days under the belt before the weekend. But look, having said that, I trust Callum Chambers. I trust Ezri Konsa. Is there better players out there? Yes, there are. And I do believe that Gerrard will, at this stage, go all out to buy a first choice centre half. I think he's too much to lose. I think he might even sacrifice buying another 8 to do this. So I don't know where we are on financial fair play or what we're allowed to spend. I know he was a little bit hamstrung with getting players out, and we've still got a lot of them sitting in the bomb squad. So it's difficult. It's a difficult situation for him. But I'm as I said, I'm 99% sure there would have been one in the pipeline. But I would imagine the value of that player has probably suddenly gone up.
Well, we get onto it in a more. Well, look, I suppose we might as well get. I didn't want to get into it I was going to say this early, but we're 37 minutes into the podcast. Let's go for it. Let's talk about it. Look, we're heavily linked with well, I won't say heavily linked, but we've had 2 or 3 links with Caleta Car from Marseille. Somebody we were linked with in the summer as well, prior to signing Diogo Carlos. We know the good relationship Aston Villa have with dealing with Marseille. Marseille have praised our dealings with them when we signed Sanson, and obviously we've been over there, and we've the Lang and Purslow and Gerrard were over there and watched the game to see Boubacar Kamara in the flesh, and obviously trashed out the deal over there. And what we know now is hindsight is 2020. That's why they were there. But also at the time, it was rumored that they were also checking in on Caleta Car to sign him too. So I'm of the opinion with you as well, Paddy. I didn't think our centre half signings were finished because even when we had Diogo Carlos, because I think that there was always an opportunity potentially to reopen that room, whether it came now or whether it came in the summer afterwards. I think that Aston Villa were preparing to have an overhaul in that room. And when I say an overhaul, I mean maybe 1 in, 1 out kind of a situation within that room. Who went out, I don't know, but I always felt that it was a room that could have been freshened up a small bit. And when I say freshened up, that's not to say that I disagree with any of the players. I think they can't play, but I think that if we're going to change a style, stylistically, if we're going to change, we're going to need to bring in another ball playing centre half, because we just didn't really have somebody who was just so technically adept on the ball. Carlos was good, but he wasn't brilliant, and I thought we were always going to have to bring somebody else in there to take that load off him, whether it was this summer or next. Now, what my feelings on Caleta Car I'll talk about later, maybe on this one, but we're getting a bit late now. But I might do another podcast myself tomorrow on this. But it's
just to clarify there, because Scott says if we can't trust Chambers and Konsa, what's the point in having them? I don't think that's what we're saying, Scott. Like
No.
I said, I'm happy enough if they're in the team. What I'm saying is I believe that Gerrard will go all out to buy a better player. We need squad players. These are squad players. But I think he will buy better quality because we need to make the step up. We didn't do that with Konza and the team last year. We need to take the step forward. And that step forward, I believe, is buying a better quality centre-half.
I'm going to pause and I'm not going to give my opinion on that step up from the centre halves because I think our centre halves have achieved some great things in the Premier League already. But for my money, for my view, should I say, Cletica is rumored to be 11 million. That's not going to break anyone's bank.
Nope.
Not going to break our bank. Like even if we wanted to sign an 8, we could sign an 8 on top of that. I think for 11 million. I think the budget will stretch to 11 million to cover the loss of Diego Carlos. If that is true, we're only going by what we read and what we see. But for me, the big thing is that when we're talking about Chambers and Konza, they're right-sided centre halves. So when Carlos went down, we had our right-sided centre halves, but we don't have any other left-sided player. Now, if Cletica comes in, does he play on the right or does he play on the left, or can he play both, or does Mings move over to the right? They're all questions we can have from a position of strength. But I kind of don't understand the whole. Well, we've got Chambers and we've got Konza. Why do we need to buy another centre half? Because by that logic, why did we need to buy Carlos in the first place? That's the same logic because we only bought Carlos 2.5 months ago. So by that logic, we didn't need to buy Carlos in the first place. So we need to have depth. It's very, very difficult to go through as a whole year with the form that our centre halves have, and sometimes they go off form, or they have done over the last 12 months. And also, Konza's back from an knee ligament injury. Chambers has had injuries and he's passed as well. I know Tyrone Mings hasn't. He's had 1 or 2 smaller injuries, but nothing major long term. Going through a season with only 3 centre halves for me is a bit ropey. And Josh Feeney ain't ready at 17 years of age. Like, it's very rare you see a 17-year-old centre half come in. Whatever about a striker, come in and play at 17 and bang goals in. Yes, we see that. Anybody can remember a 17-year-old centre half come into the Premier League and start in a back two. Pop his name in there because I think somebody's going to put in Gareth Barry. Who did I say? Juventus? Who did I say?
No, I think he said Juventus himself earlier in the comments.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, person. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. So I think that's where we are. I think the need for a third centre half or for another centre half is there. I think if you can get somebody at a market inefficiency there, somebody on the last year of their deal. Will says here that Greg Evans said suggests we're not going to have a big money signing is unlikely. I read that article. I didn't pick up, and maybe I skimmed over it, should I say. I don't think he mentioned specifically a loan signing, but I think that he said we're not going to spend anywhere near the 29 million we spent for Diego Carlos. So to me, 11 million I think would be affordable in that instance. But then again, I don't know the finances behind the whole thing as well. There's Twitter saying Rob Holding is a possibility. I saw that report yesterday in conjunction with it was either Jason Denier or Rob Holding, and I'd hold my fire. I'm Rob Holding. Me anyway.
Well, if it had to be one of them, it'd be Jason Denier for me.
Yeah, I think so for me too. I'm just not a big on Rob Holding. Rob Holding became bad when he got the plugs in the hair. I think that's like
he got plugs in the hair, did he?
He did, yeah, like he had a full head of hair all of a sudden, and he didn't have one. I don't know. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Maybe I've disparaged him. Allegedly, sorry, we forgot to put in the cover word. Allegedly, Rob Holding. Sorry. Hopefully, Rob isn't listening to the podcast. Anyway, moving swiftly along. Christopher is next. We've got 3 more. Christopher.
Hello, villains. Last week, I think I told everyone to calm down. I think this week we need to say the same thing. As somebody who's torn his Achilles, if the surgery is completed and successful, Diego Carlos is going to be fine. It may actually encourage Villa to go out and take a chance on a couple of people, and maybe we get 2 center backs next year that really light it up for us. So I hope everybody had a good weekend. I was thrilled with the performance against Everton. Wasn't perfect, but I thought we showed a lot of determination. Really curious to see what they do next week with regards to a midfielder. I hope we can go to Palace and get another 3 points. I don't personally think they're very good. Everyone bigs them up. I don't think they're all that strong. They look a little toothless up front. So hopefully I won't be proven wrong and look like an idiot. Up to Villa.
Up the Villa, indeed. Up the Villa, indeed, Christopher. But I think you're right. I think the level approach to this, and in your voicemail you sent last week, you said that we shouldn't get too high or shouldn't get too low. And I thought you were Dean Smith with a North American accent, because you don't get too high in the highs, you don't get too. But that's it. You're dead right. Absolutely dead right. We're not going to win. We're not going to qualify for Europe beating Everton every week. Well, we probably would, but there's going to be bigger fish to fry. With regards to that, for sure. Paddy,
I agree.
anything?
Yeah. No, well, look, I agree. His sentiment is always right. Don't get too high and don't get too low. I got very low last week. Very, very low last week. I was, really pissed off going into the weekend. I was impressed with our performance for the first 80 odd minutes. And you just gotta keep the best side out and hope for the best. And I've said it many times. People are hurting. Ben said it in his comments earlier on about the season ticket price going up. All of these things coming into play have left people feeling a little bit flat and a little bit deflated after last week. But it was important. The performance didn't really matter last week or against Everton. We just needed the 3 points. We got the 3 points. And now we got to look forward, and there is another potential 3 points due to us at the weekend. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully. So we have confirmation that Rob Holding did get a hair transplant, and just before anybody thinks we're disparaging them, we're not. I have checked the price because of the sunroof that I'm beginning to develop at the back of my head. So if mine is anyway as successful as Rob Holding's, or if I do end up, I hope I go to the same surgeon as Rob Holding to get mine done, because his.
Neil, when I come back from Turkey now, I'll have to wear a hat for the next few weeks in case somebody notices.
Exactly. Moving on to the second last one here from John Martin again with his second one. So let's hear what John has to say.
Yes, guys, it's John here. It's really unfortunate about Carlos's injury, but the season before last, the defence wasn't that bad. I don't think there's a reason to panic buy, but if the right player becomes available, then yeah, sure. But Mings, Chambers and Konsa should all be able to push for a top half finish. There's no questions about that. This season, we've also got Kamara, who does drop back to help the defence more so than not. We was chasing down Friedel's clean sheet record. That was down to a decent defence. So I'm not too downbeat about it. It's one of them. Up the Villa, keep up the good work with the podcast.
Excellent, John. Thank you so much. And you make a superb point that I think I alluded to there. Konsa and Mings performed wonders 2 years ago, albeit that is 2 years ago, but he's dead right. We were chasing down Frieden's clean sheet record with Konsa and Mings in the team. And if they can regain that partnership and regain that form with a bit of fitness, and now with Kamara in front of them, we're not saying that you just completely bomb out Konsa now, but the extra centre half I think we need from a stability point of view. And if it is somebody like Coletta Carney does come in, so be it. But having Konsa and Chambers, they're fantastic to have.
Yeah. My worry is that if, touch wood, it doesn't happen, if Kamara picks up an injury, are we back to where we were last season with who we got on the pitch? We've pushed the boat out on those two signings. I know we didn't pay for Kamara, but I'm sure he's on decent wages negotiated there. But there are two high-profile signings, and then we're left without both of them again. So, look, I just feel that he's going to sign big, and I don't mean big money. I think he'll just sign a big player, a good player, be it somebody who's available on a loan, or you spoke on the podcast yesterday about a couple that are free agents. That could happen too, and that could be equally as good as any of the players that we have. But I just think he will spend money on this one. I think it's a must, an absolute must, and I think we just have to have a better first choice named on the team sheet. And I look at things from further afield and think of what might happen in the future. That's why I mentioned if we picked up an injury to Kamara, there's very little in the difference to what we had last season with maybe Luca Dean you could include in that. So we need to push on. There's a lot of money on the table here. We need to push on. We need to keep those owners interested. We need to keep them involved in our club. We need to keep them hungry for success. And the only way we do that is by playing better on the pitch with better players. So when something goes wrong or when a player goes down, we need to better it and keep bettering it. And my opinion is this is an important signing for us in this off-season.
Just a piece on keeping the owners interested. Wes Edens ploughed a long furrow before the Milwaukee Bucks got to any relevance within the NBA. So I'm glad that we have an owner like that has already done it with yes, albeit a franchise situation whereby he could strip it down to the studs and build it all the way back up without the fear of relegation or anything like that. And look, let's call a spade a shovel here. They got incredibly lucky with Giannis in that team. But Aston Villa hopefully have got incredibly lucky with Kamara and future signings that we have as well. We continue on the good vein that we've seen from the likes of Kamara and so on. But John, I think you make a good point that the partnership of Konsa and Mings isn't a busted flush. It's only 2 years, or it's only pretty much 18 months since they were doing really good things there, and we were chasing that record. So, and I think centre halves are all about partnerships as well. So, that's something to be rekindled again. Whether we sign somebody or whether we don't sign somebody, I think Konsa will still be in the mix, being that right-sided player anyway. And the last message of the day goes to Liam.
Good win at the weekend. Really nice to see Ings on the score sheet with a good finish, and Emi Buendia, great performance. I think there were some good performances all over the park, to be honest. What frustrates me is, as a Villa fan, you've always got to have something to complain about, haven't you? Last week it was the woeful performance against Bournemouth and all of the Mings stuff. And now, obviously, we've lost Diego Carlos for what looks like 6 to 9 months of the season at an absolute best. Do you think we really do need to replace him? I've seen you've obviously released a couple of podcasts about possible replacements, but do you think that really is the right thing to do, throwing good money after bad? And do you think potentially we have some ability within the team to resolve the issues at the back without further recruitment, be that a combination of Chambers and Konsa next to Mings, or with more solidity from midfield with the addition of a bit more presence in a number 8 position? Or do you think potentially even using some of the young lads like Josh Feeney? I'm just interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, so I think we've kind of answered that. I think I preempted that one there. But I think you do bring up like the Josh Feeney piece is the interesting. Like, that's the joker in the pack here, because like, if you're good enough, you're old enough. But I still can't think of a centre half that has played in the Premier League to any great success at the age of 17. Specifically in the back 2. As I know, Gareth Barry came in, I think, at 18 in the back 3, if I'm not mistaken, against Sheffield Wednesday in his debut game. I think
was it even a back 3? Was it, or did he come on left back? I thought.
I think it was under Gregory in a back 3. He had Ehiog in Southgate probably beside him. So like, he's 2 serious players there alongside him. So look, Josh Feeney's going to be a monster if he continues on in the same vein he's in, and he's great ball playing centre half with the ball at his feet beside him. Throwing dummies and shimmies against Rennes in the preseason. So fair play to him. But bringing somebody in that young into a back 2, I think, is into a back 4 of the two central players in the back 4. I think is.
I do believe there's a lot of hope on the shoulders of Josh Feeney. I just think he's not ready. Like, we've seen enough of him. We've seen him in under 18s games. We've seen him in academy games. We've seen him play with the first team. I just think he's a little bit off being ready. So that's just my tuppence worth on it.
Let me just see. Did Josh Feeney? Has Josh Feeney got a senior cap already for?
I don't think he has, but he played against Rennes.
No, but did he play with Fleetwood? Did he play a game with Fleetwood?
I have no idea.
View full stats. Let me just see if I can find it here. I'm almost certain he did. No, well, I can't put my hand on it at this very moment in time anyway. So, hold tough. He was on the bench. No, he was on the bench as like a 15-year-old against MK Dons, against Burton Albion, against Doncaster. He was on the bench for the 3 of the final 4 games for Fleetwood, but he never came off the bench. As a 15-year-old, that's fair play to him. Jesus, that's some going. Anyway, a digression there on Josh Feeney, a digression for sure. Guys, thank you so much for all your voicemails. We're tipping on to nearly an hour on this one, and I really appreciate it. I really, really appreciate you making the effort with all of these comments and all these voicemails. I really, really appreciate it. If you want to send in a voicemail in the future, what?
Johan Lang is apparently at the Watford game. Unfortunately, Ismail Assar is not playing, but that doesn't mean he's not talking to someone about him, I hope.
Are we sure he's there? Like, has he been shown on TV?
I'm sure James will tell us in the comments there. But
Thanks for kidding me, James.
I think I think the button is going to be pressed by somebody on Ismail Assar this week. Why can't it be us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mark Chris, who has a blue tick for Stats Perform, says that Johan Lange was at St Andrews watching the Blues versus Watford, just there to see Keelan Davis, or for something else. Emoji doing this thing, or maybe he's defecting. Maybe the new project at St Andrews is just too good to turn down, and he's leaving and going across the city to join shitty roofing company FC over there in St Andrews. I don't know. Let the rumor mill commence, is what I say on that one. Maybe he's maybe he could be there discussing house to Watford. Maybe we could be signing Scott Hogan back. The permutations are endless. Endless. No, that's great stuff, guys. And look, as I say, if Johan Lang is over there and if he is discussing something on Ismail Assar, well, then we can only hope, because I think he would be a great addition to this team, and I think he'd be a great addition to any team in the Premier League. To be honest with you, his pace and his control of the ball is just really good, and he's, look, I hate to say it, but he's the Jack Grealish of the Championship this season. He's too good to be down there. So if we can prize him away, well, then more power to us. But I want to say thanks again, everybody, for your time. Thanks a million for the effort that you put in to send in voicemails. Just once again, before I leave you, I'm going to flash up on the screen here with regards to the voicemails. This is how you leave us a voicemail on speakpipe.com/for the love of Paul McGrath pod. You can find us there. You can leave a voicemail. Leave a voicemail at any time. We will get to it. We will get to it in our show on Tuesdays, and I really enjoy them because there's loads of great points. Like just one off the top of my head there, they're all great points tonight. But just what John mentioned there about the centre half partnership not being very good in previous years. We got to remember that kind of context, I suppose, when we have injuries like this. The Konsa and Mings can play together and have played admirably together as well. Also, I just want to bring your attention as well that we still have mugs for sale. We actually have more mugs for sale. I haven't updated my photo yet here, but we have a Villa Plus coffee mug on Northern Ireland Mugs Company.co.uk, so the nimugco.co.uk. We also have a Villa Plus tea mug on there as well, because people wanted a Villa Plus tea mug. So that's great. If tell us if you want something like that, just let us know. We'll try and see if we can make it happen. And the guys at Northern Ireland Mug Company are fantastic. So you can find us there at nimugco.co.uk. If you just go there, we've got a big feature page there. You can click in it and you can purchase one if you do so wish to purchase one. We'd be delighted for you to drink your morning tea or your morning coffee out of a mug with our logo inscribed on the side of it. So thank you so much, everybody. We're going to leave it at that. We're going to cut it before the hour kicks in. for no other reason than I just like symmetry in that aspect. Everybody, thank you so much. Go in, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, whatever's left of it. I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to do a further deep dive into Coletta Carr, whether it comes off or not. I just want to do more of a deep dive into it. And until then, we will see you. Have a great day and up the Villa.
Up the Villa.